Alright guys, I'm driving out to the job site today, and I just wanted to discuss with you the art of bidding. When you bid a job, I have a couple of stories I would like to share that have happened to me in the last few years. Basically, when you bid a job, you figure out what cost it's going to cost you, what it's going to cost in material, and how much labor is it going to be. Do you need a bobcat on the site? Do you need a dump truck? Do you need to haul material? Do you need to bring in a lot of material? And it's all time related. So a customer of mine referred me to a person, to a lady. She needed her driveway and walkway redone. So I gave her a price of $3,200, and she didn't like the price. She said, oh, I could get it done for $2,400. So instead of walking away or maybe cutting it down to $3,000, let's say, I accepted the job for $2,400, which was very silly of me. I should have just let the job go. But I didn't want my customer to see another trade there and possibly lose the work for the future. So I decided to do it. And the job came out very, very nice. There was nothing really wrong with it. I didn't really make any money. I made very, very little, if that. But she was just a real big pain in the butt afterwards. What ended up happening was there was a rock on her property, a decorative rock, and she decided she didn't like it. It wasn't in my contract to remove it, but she said, oh, you left a rock on my property. I took pictures of the site before we worked, and the rock was there. So I said, you know what, it's not worth the fight. I went back with a bobcat because the rock was large, and I took the rock out and got rid of it for her. Then she calls me up and says, well, you put the drain back in my driveway. I said, well, it's outlined in my contract that I would be putting it back. You can't remove a drain in New York City. It's against the law. You have to maintain your own water. So she said, oh, I told her I wanted it out, and she did, but I outlined it in the contract. I explained to her I had to leave it, and she agreed to it, and she signed the contract. So in the end, you know, there was no lawsuit, of course, and that was the end of it. It was just a really big headache for me. It was a lot of phone calls back and forth, and it wasn't worth it in the end. So never drop your bid so far. You could adjust it slightly, but have confidence in yourself that your work is good, and you can't bid against other people's stupidity. I mean, doing that job for $2,400 was pretty ridiculous. My other story is, recently, I'm working next to a person's house. We're doing a new house for a builder, and he says he needs some concrete done around his house. He has a leak, I guess, in his foundation. They patched it, and the waterproofer recommended putting concrete around the border of the home, so this way the water would shed away. So we would do a 4-foot walkway around the home, but the home is small. It's an older house. So I figured since I'm there, the machines are there, we're working, I charged him $2,000. He freaks out. He says, well, I only want to pay $1,300. I said, well, sir, it's not going to cover my cost. So his argument is, we're working right next door. What's the big deal? He goes, when the builder pays for the material for the concrete, throw on another few yards on the truck and pour mine. I said, well, I can't do that. I can't steal material from my customers. I said, first of all, they'll know it'll be such a large amount of yardage, and I don't betray people like that. I will never resort to stealing from my customers. I wouldn't steal from a stranger. So he got very, very upset. He hollered at me for a while, and eventually I just walked away and said, listen, I'm sorry, I can't do your job. So now it's going to be very awkward when we finish the project with him next door. So my point is, when you bid a job, basically the bid is the bid. That's what you could do the job for. I mean, if you're adding extra money on because it's busy, or you just feel the job is worth a little more, if you could make that adjustment, then do it. But if you're bidding normal amounts of money and the status quo and people are hitting you with ridiculous prices, just walk away. It's not worth it. He says he can get his friend to do the job for $1,300. I said, well, have your friend do it. And his excuse was, well, you're right next door. Well, what difference does it make? If you could get your friend for $1,300, why are you asking me when I need $2,000? So the point of the matter is, guys, when you bid jobs, always make sure that you bid them for enough money. Make sure that you make money, because this is your living. And try not to adjust the prices too much to the point where you're really skinning your teeth, or you're going to put yourself under such duress to finish that the job is not going to come out nice. Because just remember, at the end of the day, when you go to court, if the job doesn't come out right, the judge doesn't care if you misbid the job. They're going to give the people the money. So you have to bear that in mind too. No one's going to feel sorry for you if you lowered your price, because they're going to say, well, you should have just walked away. You shouldn't have did the job for that little if you couldn't do it in the first place. So just always bear all of these thoughts in mind when you bid projects. These are just a couple of things that I learned along the way. I made these mistakes. Well, I didn't make the second mistake. I did walk away. But the first time was a very big mistake. And I did the job 100%. The job came out very nice. They had no issues with the finishing, quality, thickness. We put all the steel. So whatever this other guy was doing, maybe he wasn't putting steel. Maybe he was putting 2 inches of concrete. You know, you don't know what the other people are bidding. You don't know what's going on in other people's heads. So just be wary of this moving forward. Any questions, comments, you can, just leave it in the YouTube box, and I will get back to them as soon as I can. All right, guys. Peace out.